course, everything exploded at the dinner. And, she, for some reason, of all the people I know in this world, has the ability to bring out the worst in me.
Well, Taylor, I watched the first 3 episodes of Ultimate Girls Trip, and it is absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy to see you back on our screen. So what made you want to return to Ultimate Girls Trip and be part of this franchise once again?
It was so fun when Andy called me and he's like, oh, it's just going to be a good time. You guys are going to go on vacation together. And I thought it'd be really fun to be with some of the girls that I didn't know very well. And I was excited to get to spend some time with Dorinda. And then I know Jill Zarin from the past, so I knew that she and I would have some fun together, although not everyone knew she was coming on in the beginning. So, and I wanted to get to know Eva and Phaedra, and I know Vicki and Tamara, so to spend some time with them. I thought it would just be really fun for us all to take a little vacay together. And then, of course, at the end of the conversation, after I said, yeah, I'll go, then Andy, of course, being the little stinker that he is, says, oh, are you willing to film with Brandi? And I was like, Andy Cohen, nothing surprises me.
Nothing surprises you at all. So did that make you a little hesitant that Brandi was going to come back? Or did you ever think that maybe I'm not going to do this?
I would say that was my only trepidation about going on the show, was knowing that Brandi was going to be there. And she and I, of course, have a history from Beverly Hills, and I wasn't sure how we were going to take off from where we left off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, we do see the two of you have, you sit down, try to work some things out, then things explode at the dinner. I mean, what was your reaction when you first saw her kind of walk through the door? And were you hoping to kind of mend things, or, or are you still kind of feeling the feelings from when you guys filmed together way back in the day?
Well, I was surprised when Dorinda said that Brandi had called and that she was having some trepidation about seeing me and Tamara and Vicki. And so we all agreed that we were going to go in with a positive attitude and just try to smooth things out a little bit. And then when she walked in, I was like, oh no, here we go. And then we tried to mend things a little. And then, of course, everything exploded at the dinner. And, she, for some reason, of all the people I know in this world, has the ability to bring out the worst in me.
I mean, we do see, in the first 3 episodes, some tension between the two. How did you feel about her once filming wrapped?
You're going to see some ups and downs with us. And I think that we have such a long history that there are some tensions, but also in some respect, we have a bit of a family feeling with one another. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like fighting with your sister.
Yes, right. I mean, was it shocking? I mean, as a viewer, it was shocking to me when Brandi said that she felt her first season of The Housewives was hard for her because of what happened to your ex. I mean, what was kind of going through your mind when that happened? I know for me, I was shocked.
I was shocked too.
Yeah.
I was just kind of speechless almost, because I couldn't believe that she was actually saying that was like the hardest year of her life after everything that I went through and my daughter went through. I was just really taken aback. I never saw that coming. She didn't have a relationship with Russell. And so I'm still in shock, actually, as you can tell.
Right. And were you also kind of shocked when she said that she still wasn't sure if you were telling the truth about being abused?
That is really hard for me, especially because I am so actively involved in domestic violence prevention and working with survivors and victims. And I speak all over the place, and I am very public about my advocacy. And that is the worst thing that you can do to a victim, is to doubt them or to ever suggest that they might be making something up. If I'm going to make something up, I'm going to make something up good about myself, not that I'm in an abusive relationship. Yeah. And so that to me is harmful to the whole cause. And it didn't make me happy. And I don't think that anyone out there should be saying things like that about victims.
No, I totally agree with you. And I mean, I spoke to Dorinda recently, and she said that the audiences are going to love to see that you have found your voice. And, in the 6+ years that we have seen you on Beverly Hills, how did you find your voice?
A lot of the reason I found my voice, I believe, is what I went through and being able to recover from what I went through. I think that when you go through something, I know that when you go through something that you think you'll never survive your way through, and you find a strength inside of you that you didn't know you have, and then eventually, when you go through other trying times in your life, you can draw on that strength because you know that you have it inside of you. And I remember when one of my friends hugged me at the funeral, he said to another friend of mine, she's never going to survive this, because it was just so overwhelming. Everything I was left with the financial issues and a child and all the tragedy, and just, I was in 2 different litigations. I mean, it was a complete mess. And there were times when I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but now that I know that I can, it gives me a voice to speak out, not only for myself, but for others.
Yeah. I mean, how did you get through those times? I'm sure your daughter was probably, your inspiration, I would imagine.
Well, I knew that I had to survive and make it through so that I could take care of her. As you said, Kennedy was my first and foremost concern. And I just, day by day is all I can tell you. I mean, it was one disappointment after the other as things were unfolding. And I would just get calls from the attorneys and calls, and it was never anything positive. And there were days when I just sat in my backyard and drank Chardonnay because I couldn't make any decisions. I was paralyzed by the fact that the weight of the world felt like it was on my shoulders, and I didn't really know how to navigate it. And thankfully, John, my now husband, who was my friend then, is also an attorney, and he came in and really helped me. We didn't really like each other for the first couple of years because every time he called me, it was bad news. Yeah. And so, but he stood by my side through everything and helped to run the 2 different law firms and help them to help me navigate everything I was going through. And that's why I believe I'm married now, because I would have never trusted anyone again after all the lies that were built in my previous relationship. And having someone that just stood by me, even though we couldn't stand each other for a while, it was, I think it's the reason that I trust him so much, and we became best friends.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure that it had to be extremely difficult to even want to get probably back into another relationship after that.
I think if it wouldn't have been someone that I trust so much because of everything I went through, I don't think I would have ever been in a relationship again. I just felt so betrayed. And also, when your life plays out on television and in the tabloids and in the news, I don't know how you meet someone that you've never been with before and just assume that they're not going to have so many preconceived thoughts about who you are.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is it hard for you? I know, like you said, you speak out and you do such amazing work for so many domestic violence victims and things like that. But is it hard for you to relive this on camera again and bring it back up for so many people to watch and dissect and, things like that? Is that going to be hard for you to kind of relive again?
After speaking for so many years, I've told my story so many times, and it's almost like I'm telling a story about someone else. Yeah. Because it's hard for me to believe that I ever allowed myself to be a victim and to put up with all that I did. But when you're in it, it's really hard to reflect on what you're going through, because it's just a day-to-day anxiety and trying to keep the lid on the pot and trying not to let things boil over. And that's why in season 1, I really felt like I had become a ghost of myself. When I saw myself on TV, I was like, wait, who is that girl? Because I just seemed like a Stepford wife, because whenever you're in a violent relationship, or an abusive, even emotionally abusive relationship, you maybe don't laugh as much as you used to. You don't talk as much as you used to. You're always trying to just keep things calm. And I became a shell of myself. And I had a friend call me after seeing part of the season, and he said, I don't know who that girl is on that show, but it's not you. And he's like, no one is seeing like how vivacious and funny and everything that you are. And you just seem like a completely different person. And watching myself, I started to realize that as well. And also just seeing my relationship on camera, it was even becoming more and more evident to me that it was so dysfunctional and awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did the show almost act as like, not like a wake-up call, but like for you to see your relationship through a different lens, I guess?
Absolutely. I feel like in retrospect, and I didn't know this at the time, but I thought that the cameras perhaps would provide some protection for me because abusers don't act out at the mall or in a restaurant. They act out behind the scenes. And when your life and the behind the scenes of your life is also on camera, I felt like I would have somewhat of a sense of protection. I mean, that in looking back, I believe that that's one of the reasons that I did the show. And I also watched Kyle and Mauricio's relationship and Lisa and Ken's, and then I saw mine, and I saw such a stark contrast that it made, like you said, it magnified the fact that I knew it was an unhealthy relationship, but it really helped me bring it to the forefront. Like, this is definitely unhealthy. And I remember doing Wendy Williams, and she said, he abuses you, doesn't he? And it was evident just to her from watching a few of the episodes. And of course, I denied it immediately, like anyone would. But it was interesting to me that it was so obvious to other people.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Would you ever want to go back to Beverly Hills Housewives and do it again now that you're in such a great place in your life?
I would go back. I would go back for several reasons. One, I feel as though a lot of the viewers, they just saw the tragedy of my life and they didn't get a chance to see what happened next. And when we got married in a beautiful wedding special that David Tutera did for us, and my husband adopted Kennedy before he even married me. And he's just been such a huge supporter in my life. And now that I'm out there working with victims and survivors, I would love for people to see that aspect of my life and that there is life after.
Yeah, I think that's great. How's Kennedy doing?
She's great. She's 16, driving.
It's crazy.
If you're in Orange County, stay off the roads. That's all I can say. She's actually a really good driver, but it still makes me nervous because she's still 16. And she's an amazing athlete. She has tons of friends. She has 7 best girlfriends. We call them the Hateful Eight. And because the tagline for that Quentin Tarantino movie is no survivors. And I'm like, if you mess with one of these girls, there's going to be no survivors because they're thick as thieves. And she has a great life. And I'm just so happy that there's life after for her as well.
Definitely. I mean, and she must be so proud of you.
You know, she's 16.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. It depends on the day.
Yeah, exactly. You know, exactly. She wrote me the most beautiful card for Mother's Day, a beautiful card for my birthday. She bought me presents. And then I'm like, okay, did you wreck your car? Like what has happened? But she's very sweet. But of course she has the personality of a teenager too.
Of course. And, you know, of course, on this season of Ultimate Girls Trip, there's, of course, a lot of drama. And there's some drama that's spilling off screen as well with Dorinda and Vicki during this like big argument that's going on about Bluestone Manor. Whose side are you on in this?
Oh my gosh. It's so hard because Dorinda was hosting us and I felt like for Vicki, it was hard for her to assert herself in the way that Vicki normally does because she felt like we're being hosted in this person's home. So she didn't really get to speak her mind the way she normally does. Plus Vicki was going through so much with the breakup of with her fiance. And then she was a little bit ill during some of the filming. And so I didn't feel like Vicki got to be Vicki, which is a shame because she can be so fun when she whoops it up.
Yes, definitely when she whoops it up. And I know it seems like you and Eva got along very well this season too. It seems like this was like a fast friendship and you two hit it off right off the bat.
Eva and I certainly bonded on the show, and I loved getting to know she and Phaedra from Atlanta. And Eva and I share a special bond, and I hope it comes out on the show because it's a pretty special moment.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with any of the ladies from Beverly Hills?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, we do more like DMing and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I love all of them. And after everything we went through, I mean, season 1, we had a divorce, season 2, we had a divorce, season 3, we had a divorce, and only 5 of us were married. And then with the suicide and everything that came up with that, you know, we have a special bond that's going to last forever. And, Yeah, I just saw Kyle and I saw Lisa Rinna. We were at all the MTV Awards together.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Yep.
And
So
yeah,
fun.
we had a great time. So I got to see a lot of the Beverly Hills ladies, Kathy, and yeah. So
I'd love to see you back on Beverly Hills full time. I would love to see it. Hey everyone, I'm Christina Garibaldi, the host of Us Weekly Celebrity Coverage. Don't forget to hit subscribe for the latest celebrity news, tips, and video. And for much more content, make sure you head on over to usmagazine.com, the official home of Us Weekly magazine.